I want to run through, just say thanks to everyone for coming. My name's Ferg McGrath. I'm one of the associate governors of the British Film Editors. And today's, the focus of today really is, it's something that I've felt strongly about for many years. And since I've known Khalif and Kirsty, they've also felt strongly about this. And so between us, and when Roberta got these Friday afternoon events going, we were kindly given a chance to get something that just, instead of putting the focus on the editors, puts the focus on the assistant editors and the edit assistants and on the junior editors, because it seems to me that that can be a really difficult time to, it can be a difficult leap to make. And it seems to me that there's no real set way of making that leap. But one way that the leap can be made easier, I think, is if us editors can help in any way we can for our juniors. So it was with that in mind, really, that we put together this this afternoon. So we've got a really mixed bunch of people. I think it was really fortuitous the way people came along, but they're divided into sort of 3 to 4 categories. There's the drama editor success stories that have come from assisting and are editors in their own rights, and then there's those that they're still assistants and still striving and looking to get themselves into the chair. And then we have there's the documentary editor success stories, which are actually fewer and thinner on the ground, and then the documentary editors that are still striving. And I think there's a reason for that, and we'll probably get into that a bit later. And roughly speaking, I'm hoping that we can get through quite a bit in the time that we have, and allowing the people that are here to get involved. One of the big things that we're doing is that the BFE it's looking to raise the status of editors in the industry and to get a bit more recognition for ourselves. But I wonder as well, should we be looking at our assistants and junior editors and getting some more understanding and recognition of what those people do as well, and celebrate that. So it would be great to get ideas to see what we can do or should do in order to achieve this. And then the other thing is, there are people here, and it's conversation that Kirsty and I were having, and Kirsty and Robbie and Khalif and I, is that there are lots of assistants that are making great careers as assistants, and that's their chosen career path. And should there be an organization for them? Should the BFE have a category for them and some sort of recognition for them? So it would be great if we can talk about that and see what the place is for that and where that needs to go. For example, Kirsty was asking, well, if you've been an assistant editor and you're an excellent assistant editor and you've been doing it for years, then why shouldn't you have BFE after your name if you've got a lot more experience than a lot of the other editors that get to use those initials? So I think that's, if people have opinions on that, it would be great to hear them. Then I'd like to, if we can, touch upon positive actions that editors have taken to help people along in their careers, because this is hopefully an opportunity for editors really to listen, see what they can be doing and should be doing for juniors to bring them along. And then it's just, I think if we can, hopefully it will emerge from this as well, is just to see what are the most common barriers that seem to be there for junior editors and assistants to get the solo editing gig. So it's a good chance. That's, I think, the chance to really have a whine and make people sit up and listen and just say, well, it's time, you know, that change has happened, that that juniors were getting a leg up, or were being listened to by their older peers. Because especially in the factual end, I think, since since the whole route to editing stopped having the assistant in the room arranging all the short ends and film rushes, that now you have a machine room and an Avid, and so much of the time, especially for TV, for factual work, you just don't have that editor-assistant relationship. In the high-end documentaries, you do, of course, but not in the factual. And we're lucky to have our friends from Facebook as well. They're here observing. They may chime in, but they're not actually here to be speakers or featured guests. But it's great to have them here, and they're from the post-production outreach team and training. So there may be something that perhaps could be sparked off in terms of training wise that the BFE could be involved in, and maybe Facebook could, or Netflix could be involved in the future. And so I'm just going to give you a quick introduction to everyone. I'm going to read them all out so I don't get them wrong.
Sorry, Fergal, can I just briefly interrupt? We're having some problems with the chat, and later we'll be asking people if they want to ask questions to write in the chat, but we're unable to access that at the moment. So while you're speaking, Khalif and I are actually trying to fix that. So just if people are wondering why they can't write in the chat, we're trying to figure it out.
Is there I was trying to figure out how to do the hands up on Zoom, and I didn't quite crack it. If anyone can explain that as well, it might be just use a thumb up, is it, Chris?
Yes, it's so if you go to if you have the participant panel open, it's right at the right hand bottom. It says raise hand. Can you see it?
If we can't get notes, my point I guess is that we can always
I can do that. Can you
do
see
a fist or a thumb? Yeah.
So can you see can you see my hand? Yeah. So that's what I did. And then you have to lower your hand. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah, but I don't need to. Can Khalif or Kirsty or Roberta see what Stefania is doing?
Yes, I can see people who are doing thumbs up with the reaction button.
No, there's so if you open up the participants list on the side of Zoom, at the bottom of that there's a raise hand and lower hand. So I think that's the only way to access it, really. Yeah.
Okay, so if people have a question for now, if they raise their hand, and then I can unmute them and they'll be able to ask their question.
Yeah,
Okay, well, while you guys are working with that, if it's okay, I'll go through the intros because it could take a while, so I'll try and whiz through them fairly quickly. And the first person is Izzy, but I don't know if Izzy is here.
I'm here.
Oh, great. Hi, Izzy.
Hiya.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So I'm going to read so I don't get things wrong here. Izzy started on adverts and music videos, assisting on TV dramas and films, including The Crown, Three Girls, Black Mirror, and Misbehavior. As an editor, she's cut a number of successful shorts, including BAFTA-nominated short Goldfish with Heather Dockrell, and feature film Two for Joy, directed by Tom Beard. Her most recent work is the new Sky Atlantic drama series I Hate Susie, directed by Georgie Banks Davis and created by Lucy Pebble and Billy Piper. And I should have said that Two for Joy, her feature film, was an awards nominee at the Edinburgh Film Festival. So, and next is Emma Cummins is here. Emma is downstairs on my screen somewhere in the middle. Give us a wave, Emma. So Emma is a post-production supervisor. She's worked closely with Khalif and myself, disclaimer here. So Emma, post-production supervisor for factual series and series docs, feature docs. Started her own company, Flying Fox, in 2019 after working as senior post manager at Molyneux, previously at Blue and Clearcut. She's also previously managed in-house post for production companies like Tiger Aspect and Princess Productions. So during her career, she's post-produced Three Identical Strangers, Don't Fuck with Cats for Netflix, and this weekend on ESPN and BT Sports, she's got the Bruce Lee documentary Be Water, which was also at Sundance earlier this year in competition. Carly Brown, are you here? Hello, Carly.
Hello, hi.
Carly was editor in factual sports and branded content till last year, and then she moved into high-end drama. Her first job in drama was second assistant to Una Nigonla on feature film Misbehavior. She recently finished working as block assistant on season 4 of The Crown. Chris Crockwell, to my right, gives a wave. Chris started out as assistant editor in TV, working for Chris Wyatt, editor Chris Wyatt. Then he worked in a variety shows including Jamestown, Stanley's Lucky Man, Close to the Enemy, and others. He then moved into assistant editing in film and working on Tolkien, and Fighting with My Family, which I've recently watched. Good fun. He has also tasked us with the job of archive editor. Chris is now an editor in his own block, in his own right, having cut blocks on Moving On, Clink, The Luminaries, and others. Roddy MacDonald, give us a wave, Roddy. It's nice to see you in person. Roddy started out as a runner for a production company in Glasgow, moved to London in 2011, worked in post. Spent several years as machine room op before going freelance as an assistant, working mainly in factual, and the last few years earned his first broadcast credits on First Dates, Big Brother, and Hunted. Looking to gain more experience in drama, Roddy continues to work as an assistant, currently in children's comedy, and has cut 3 short films for festivals in the last 2 years. So you're one of those editors that's looking to has made the sort of transition over to drama from the factual side.
I wouldn't say I've made it. I'm certainly making inroads, but I haven't made it yet, no.
You're making it. I was actually made contact with Roddy because I was having technical problems getting Zoom to work with my director and share my screen. And so Roddy was sharing a new technique that not many people knew, with using your breakout card to share your screen. Next I've got is Roberta, to my right. Give us a wave. So Roberta is one of the latest additions to the board of BFE governors. She's an editor with over 10 years experience. She started her journey in 2008 when she was accepted on film editing course directed by Giuseppe Bertolucci. She since then has worked as an editor in Italy for a couple of years and then on to London in 2010. She never really worked as an assistant except for a handful of occasions, and has been editing a whole variety of genres, from features to animation shows, from documentaries to commercials and short form. So across the board, Roberta. And then I need to read from my phone. Kirsty. Kirsty is a part-time freelance editor assistant after 8 years spanning technical assistant and online editing as staff in post-production facilities. After her online editing experience, Kirsty found that she missed some of the more technical aspects of her career and shifted back to assisting, and enjoys the diversity and pace of assisting as an editor rather than editing herself. Khalif, to my left. Khalif joined the BFE as an associate governor at the same time as Roberta. Prior to coming to the UK, she worked in Hong Kong as a TV drama scriptwriter and documentary researcher in 2 major broadcasters there. Due to the political change in Hong Kong, she decided to work in the UK's film industry instead. She went to London Film School in the hope of getting into the industry quicker. Although she has professional experience back in Hong Kong, she wants to rebuild her career in film here as an assistant editor and junior editor. Her first break in the UK is on the Bruce Lee documentary Be Water, which we mentioned earlier, which premiered at Sundance in January and will be broadcast in the UK on the 7th of June. And finally, we have Tom Sales, who's just emailed this to me. Tom working in post-production and production for approximately 10 years, concentrating on factual broadcast, handling workflows to assisting shows themselves. Tom runs the I Need an Editor Assistant Facebook group and regularly tries to support this to help people move into the jobs that they like while offering support. And Tom and myself actually worked on a project 4 years ago, and since then he's I think has established himself as an editor, having made the move from assisting. So it'd be great to hear him talking about that, and also it'd be great to hear you talk later as well, Tom, about your perception of what it is for assistants that's getting in the way of getting forward, since you have such a big group that you've been running for the last few years. I want to put a special thanks out to Una Nigonla, because she put us in touch with several of her assistants, and I think she's a great example of an editor that really champions her assistants and tries to bring them on. I know Dan Gage managed to join us. I see you there in your hat and smiles. Good to see you, Dan. And there was a Charlotte, I think, was going to join us, but she may not have been able to make it. Apologies if I've missed anyone out. We've kind of put this together fairly quickly, but it's hopefully going to be a very worthwhile afternoon. So I suppose we could start talking, maybe start talking about what are the barriers and what breaks through those barriers for getting yourself into the editor's chair. I think it might be nice to have a good news story to start with, and maybe some of the struggles after. Chris, you're the closest person to me, Chris Kruckle. Would you be able to give us a quick sort of insight into what you found difficult about getting there, but what really helped you to make the step and have the confidence, I suppose, as well?
Yeah, for myself, I think I always came into assistant editing always wanting to be an editor, which was the first thing I think you had to decide, to have that goal that you want to advance and go on and take the seat and edit race, basically. For myself, though, it was I always found that people would see you as an assistant editor, and if they'd worked with you before, they knew that you were a very good or very reliable first assistant editor. However, I think there's a bit more. It's a bit harder, I think, for some people to take the risk with you or take a jump on someone new. I was very fortunate. I was really lucky, and it's always been luck for myself in my career. I believe that I always have been working with a production company up north here in Liverpool, which is where I'm from, as you can probably tell from the accent. And the production company were really open with their assistant editors, and we're really really open with all different departments, really, and giving people their first step, their first opportunity. And they have been doing this drama series, which is a daytime drama. And I think with daytime drama, there's a lot less budget, but there's also a lot less risk as well for the...
Do you say a lot less jib and risk?
No. There's a lot less budget for the for the daytime drama, and I think that sometimes does help with sort of being able to give new people a step up and trying out some people. And I found that I was very fortunate to be in a position where, as I was assisting there for so long, that they gave me an episode of this daytime drama to try me out and see if I could cut my teeth in a 2-week block, basically working. And one episode is a 45-minute drama, and that was my first taste. But I was just really fortunate. I was in the right time, the right place, and it was the right company that were very willing to give me my first break in that field.
Okay, yeah, and I hope I'm not throwing you in there now, Tom Sales, because when Tom and I worked together, we worked on a project 4 years ago. It's only just seen the light of day now, and it was sort of typical, it seemed to me, of some of the factual projects that actually don't have the rigor of assistance from the outset, and then they can get themselves into a bit of trouble and then recruit additional assistance, but they're not quite there with it. And I know that since then you were breaking through as an editor, Tom, and you've managed to do that. But I don't know how much you want to talk about how plain sailing it has or hasn't been. But I do think that on the factual side of things, it's a trickier jump to make.
Yeah, try it in a nutshell. That job was a mess when I came into it, and I wanted to clean it up, but it was too far gone. I think it's an example of where production don't think you need an assistant until it's too late, and then you're kind of backpedaling. And I found that a lot, and I think that's the main problem. I've got friends that work on drama, and it seems like if you get an editor you work well with in drama, that editor will carry you through, and you will then move on to other stuff. But as in factual, you're picked by the production, and a lot of the times the production, they don't really know the ins and outs. I had a production secretary or PM say to me, I don't even know what an edit assistant does. So I think that's part of the problem, really, is like a lot of production don't actually know what your job is. So they don't think they need you. But for me, it was just because I worked on loads of things, and I just had one job inside the ambulance for Watch with Brown Bob. And I had an amazing boss called Daisy, and she just was like, we need stuff to get done, cut a story, cut 3 stories a week, done. And then it worked. And that was basically it. It was all it is somebody just going, oh, you need to cut this. And then you cut it. Yeah. But it is like everything in the industry seems to be throw you in the deep end and not really help you, which is something that I think if you had a relationship with an editor, they could go, oh, that was good, but you know, the style for this show is more this way, and you would be able to craft together, as opposed to I've seen a lot of people, production and post, who just go, you know, sink or swim, and you're not really training people. So I think that's a lot of the problem that I think was that.
Yeah, thank you. I think as well, I know the editor friends I have that I would see regularly, and that would be a wee bit older than myself, that they came through working in a room with the editor because of having to handle the film and sync the rushes and all of that sort of stuff. And I think that's a great, it's a great rigor to have, and it probably gives you confidence of having something ingrained as well, as there's a certain set approach, and that's how you do things, and people know that that's how you do things. And yeah, so I feel at times I kind of found my way of doing things, but is that the right way of doing things? I don't know. I mean, something correct comes out the other end, at least, you know. But whether it's right or not it's an odd thing when you have to feel like you're finding your way with it.
I mean, if you and I won't go on too long, but if you like watch the Coen brothers edit with their assistants, they're sitting opposite each other. They're throwing stuff back and forth. And the American model is that an assistant will come in at night and assemble. And like, it took me years to get an assembly job because people didn't. And I think like the editing system in Factual is very much the editor has everything. And if an assistant comes in, they can organize the bins or they can sync. But I don't know, it's a weird situation. You're in a different room. It's not, the synergy isn't really there that I'd like.
Yeah, I know it really helps to be near people. I mean, I don't know what's next anyway with us all looking at each other on our screens, you know, and how much longer we're all going to be doing this. I've a personal sort of feeling that maybe we can bring assistants into jobs in Factual and just convince the companies, well, let's try and get really good assistants in for a day a week or something like that, and have them going across different films, and you realize when they're not there that they do so much, and they free up the editor so much that perhaps it would be seen as a really workable, not a false economy. There's one of the other
cheaper, so much cheaper. So
at the end, yeah. I mean, there's a member of the board here, or of BFE, and he's just come back from Canada, and he said, well, over there, they always have that. They have their assistants set on their shows, you know, they know exactly what they do, so the editors know exactly what they do, and they slide through it fairly quickly. I mean, I'd be curious to hear from Emma, because you've in all your years doing post supervision, you've been in the facility house, and you've been outside of it, and you've seen the assistants that are in the machine room dedicated and doing the factual stuff, and then you've done the really high-end stuff with the assistants who are in the room. And I'd love to hear how you see how it's working or not working, and how it is that some people get cut through and progress and have successful careers as editors, and other ones that have wanted to but haven't.
It's quite funny, because working at a post house, often if a show's going wrong, the first question you get asked from the production company is, can you spare an edit assistant to work on my show? And you're like, no, you can't, because they've got a job. But it's an interesting thing, because I work mainly in factual and documentaries, and you're right, drama is where the assistant editor jobs are, but factual is also where they're needed. So I think it's more of an education thing for production companies, that perhaps these jobs should come with editor jobs, but there needs to be some kind of budget solution for it as well, because if you're going to a post house, you're just going to get charged for 2 suites, and a production's never going to sign that off, you know. So there has.
Well, I suppose what I'm curious about is, if I was at this Zoom meeting now and I want to hear, well, how am I going to get myself that editing gig? You know, what's the best? Should I work in the machine room in the post house? Should I try and get to work with an editor making feature docs? What do I do? What's the best way? How do you avoid too many wasted years, in inverted commas?
Well, that's the thing. I think, because I just came from Molyneux, which was mainly a drama house, and a lot of assistants who were in the machine room have left and gone to work on the dramas that were in our post house. You know, The Crown, Killing Eve, for example, and those assistants who show willing to, who are doing their job, but also show willing to, and an interest in the project, and talk to the editors and have those conversations and work extra hours on those projects, will probably be the ones who are seen and hired for the next series. So there are ways out of the machine room, but it's less of just doing your job and sitting in that machine room, and more of actually networking. Yeah,
the networking tends to be the thing. But what's difficult with us lot, and more with the factual people, is that we tend to be fragmented and don't tend to see each other and socialize with each other that much as editors and as assistants, probably. I mean, I don't know if some of the assistants here would disagree. I don't know. I'm very curious. Sorry, somebody wanted to speak?
Sorry, just really quickly. I think, like you were saying, just like factual, the editor doesn't have a say in what edit assistant they have, or even that they have one. I mean, every job I'd say like 50% of the jobs, maybe more, that I hired as an edit assistant was like, everything's gone wrong, we need someone tomorrow. Like, it's never been factored in. Like, the amount of jobs I got a phone call that were my dream job, but I was just working on something else, and they're like, we need someone now. Nothing works. No one knew we needed to sync things. Like that, I had that every time. So I think Emma's right. We need to educate production of how important it is, and how to include in the whole system an assistant, and then you can get that kind of relationship with editors. So I'll shut up now.
No, it's just how do we educate upwards, I suppose, is the question. All right. I'm curious that there are quite a few people here that are connected to Una Nigola, and Carly, Sarah, is it Charlotte? Dan, are you married? Are you married with Charlotte? Is that correct?
That is correct. She's just working for a minute though, but she was sat next to me earlier.
Okay, and both you and Charlotte have assisted for Una in the past.
I don't think Charlotte has actually, but yeah, I have on the Crown. Yeah, she's great.
And did she have any? Does that have any bearing? Does that have any bearing on you now editing, or how did it? What was your route?
Well, actually, I used to work with Emma and Roddy in machine rooms. But yeah, Una was. I think I was talking to Fiona, who's also on the call earlier, and I think all of the editing credits that I have so far I owe to editors recommending me, and Una was one of them, and Gary Dolner was the other one. So yeah, I think if you can form strong relationships with editors and show them that you can cut and help them out, if they're in a jam, if you can step up and help them out with things, then they remember that, and the good ones can help you through and help you furrow a path or recommend you to people. So yeah, that's what I would say about that. But Una has always been helpful to me, like advising on my short films that I was cutting, recommending me to people, giving me advice if I need it. I'm sure Izzy, Carly, and Ben would attest to that as well.
Izzy, did I meet you at screening in December?
I think that you met Carly, actually.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I think it was me. But we had come as a pair before because we were working together with Una on Misbehaviour. But no, I think I met you.
Because I was really impressed at how when Una introduced us, she really championed you.
She's brilliant for that. Yeah, she's as Dan was saying, she's incredible. And I think, yeah, as exactly as Dan says, if you can show her, your enthusiasm, and there were times on Misbehaviour where we were able to help her out with doing little cuts and stuff as well. She then totally got behind us, and I know Izzy's found the same. She's been brilliant at, speaking out for us. And I think it's difficult when you are assisting to kind of really show yourself and stand up for yourself and be, confident in situations, meeting other people and say, I'm an assistant, but I've also cut these shorts and I've done these other things in the past. And Una is a brilliant example of someone who will help you say all of that. And it doesn't feel obviously threatened in the way that some people may be. Not that we're at a threatening point now, but the thing of editors wanting to some editors might want to keep you in your place as an assistant and hold on to you as an assistant. She's not afraid of that. She's really keen to kind of help promote you in your career, and help you get on to editing if that's what you want to do.
I think there's a responsibility, really. I think anyway, as an editor, we've all had our breaks and help at various times from people, and it's good to give others a bit of a help up whenever you can, I think, or just to recognize talent and make sure it gets a chance to be seen or to shine through.
She also like being part of her team, which is something I'd want to carry forward, is she really treats us as the editorial team, so that we all, the director, she tries to push the director to see us as a team rather than her, the editor, and the assistants. She kind of presents us so that if she was delayed on a flight, one of us could step in and do the changes until she got there. So it kind of, she makes a great atmosphere for that, which gives you confidence.
Yeah, I can imagine. Roddy, I'm very curious to hear from you about how you looked like you were on the fast track to doing first dates and Hunted and all that, those kind of multi-camera type edits, and you've decided to switch tracks in the direction of doing drama.
Well, I think it's interesting because it touches on some of what Chris was saying, a little bit of what Tom was saying, a little bit of what Dan was saying as well, which is that I was perhaps less clear about where I wanted to go and what I wanted to work on when I first started working in the industry. And you were mentioning also about people who spent a lot of time in the machine room. I was certainly one of those people. And it is very valuable, and anyone who is working in a machine room or is working their way up, I think it's quite important to gain those technical skills so that you can then be confident in your abilities, and you can go out and impress people and be able to be, you know, helpful when those projects really are a mess and they need someone to step in and all that kind of stuff. In terms of having made a full-scale switch to drama, I'm not sure if that will work for me. If I'm honest, I was hoping that there would be other people here on this panel who might be able to talk about people who have been able to make a complete switch, because I don't get opportunities to assist in drama very often, not really as a regular thing. So I can get work assisting on factual shows and opportunities to edit, which has taken a while to come as well. But I think I'm perhaps not the best person to speak to how you go about making that switch, because I do think that they are seen as quite different skill sets. The skill set that you need to have as a drama assistant and the skill set that you need to have as a factual assistant or even as a factual editor. And I would say it's worth bearing in mind if you are someone who's coming up, that you may want to focus in on that a little bit better than I have, perhaps.
It sounds to me like you're standing on two barges at the moment, and they're both on the move. I think you need to jump one or the other. All right, not that it's my place to give you advice, far from it. I'd let Kirsty. I for some reason I think I'd like to hear from you, if you don't mind, because your story is. I always feel bad that it didn't seem to be going right for you, and you had to take a pivot. But and I shouldn't be looking at it in that way, I think. But yeah, that when you put in all the hard yards to get to a certain place, and you then have you're then going somewhere else, and then I think from your point of view, you found where we are, where you are, is it's not getting the level of respect that, because being a good assistant is invaluable, I suppose. And yeah, maybe you can articulate it better than I am at the moment.
Yeah, I suppose my story is a bit unique in that I always wanted to be an editor, and that was where I wanted to go. And I worked in 3 separate post-production facilities for a long time as an assistant, and I was given a break as an online editor, and I really didn't like it. I hated being in the online environment, and so I stepped back into the world of assisting. And you can get, sometimes because it's so technical now, you can get a little bit sucked into that world, and I did enjoy it, the technical side, but I became very disillusioned with the lack of acknowledgement that you would receive for all of the hard work that you did. And I feel bad saying this because one of my former bosses is here, and that's not directed specifically at anywhere in particular that I worked, but just in general in the industry. I hope I can be candid and say that sometimes there can be a bit of a blame game that goes on, and it's not just that it goes towards the assistants, but for anyone who's here who's not a member of the BFE, we've been having some great Friday chats with editors, and it's shocking to me to hear some of the editors who've spoken say that they worry sometimes people don't know what they do, and it's easy to point the finger and say, oh, it's the editor's fault. And it's horrible to sometimes find yourself in that position where you feel that you're always fighting to show what you do. And I think particularly as an assistant, it's sometimes hard to quantify what you do and show people unless it's in a show reel. And for me, I didn't necessarily have one. And I did have a few people championing me, and I really appreciate that. But it all got a bit much, and I ended up leaving the industry. And I went to work in a cafe. I had a bit of a breakdown, and off I went. But in doing that, I took a year where I didn't have anything to do with the industry. And then David Fairhead, who I believe is actually in this meeting now, who's an amazing editor, and I always really respected his work, offered me some work. And having that break and that time away from everything allowed me to realize that I could take a bit of control myself, and I could take work that I wanted to work on. And I wasn't so worried about or what will people think of me, and do I need to fill my time all the time? So from working with David, I've then been able to pick and choose which jobs I do. And that's scary, I understand, when you go freelance and you're worrying about where the money's going to come from. But the more and more I listen to our editors on our virtual glass of wine, I see that take the jobs, but be very confident of where you want to go and what you want to work on, and be proud about pushing yourself and the abilities that you have. And for me now, I'm much more comfortable to ask, well, I expect to be paid this much, and I want a lunch break, and I want to be able to do, be able to take some work from home. And so whilst I was in a bad place and I had to leave the industry to figure out what to do, I now understand a lot more how to make it comfortable for myself, if that makes sense.
Makes sense, yeah, it does make sense. I know you told a story that you got to shadow an editor for a certain amount of time, and I think it's a great thing then for any editor to do. Are there other things that editors could, should, must do for other aspiring editors?
I think from my experience, that editor that you're talking about, I did, David, I sat in with him and shadowed him as well.
Of course, yeah.
The first time, and this was actually when I was still in the library at the farm, which is huge and you can easily get lost. And she said to me, if you sit in with me, you sit in all the time. You sit in before work, after work. You need to know what it's like as an editor full time. But because I made that commitment, she then gave a commitment back to me that she spoke about how you find your next job, how you stay true to your morals, how you manage the relationship between an editor and a producer. And actually, all of those things are so important, because as I've seen when you get into the edit, it's not just that part of the job. There's a lot of juggling that you have to do. And I think that's something that editors can be really aware of, is that sometimes you've spent a long time in a machine room, or you've spent a long time on your own, and you don't develop those same working relationships. And that's really important. So being aware that there are more things to teach someone, from my perspective.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I wonder, Khalif, what about your experiences of being in the room with editors and assisting versus editing yourself?
Yeah, so I'm relatively new to UK industry. I think I only had worked closely with 2 editors, yeah, maybe 2.5. So it was very scary in the beginning, because as you mentioned, I came from script writing and pre-production basically. So after graduating from the film school, I felt like I know nothing about editing. And the first job I went on an interview, and the producer told me, yes, you don't have to do anything like, ingesting, transcoding, Envy would deal with it. You just need to manage the log sheet. And then you will come on this, this production 2 days a week. But it ended up, I was hired for the production for a year, 5 days a week, and doing all sort of transcoding, ingesting, because they dropped Envy because of, the cost. So I basically know nothing about, technical aspects, aspect ratio, how to resize, just all the things that in a machine room you would learn in a machine room. So it was very scary. I had to ask a tutor I met in London Film School for help every day, and ask the Facebook group, ask an editor, edit jockey, for advice. How do I set up edit suite in a room, things like that. And I was very lucky to work with my editor, Graham. I think he's here. And I think, yeah, I would love to invite him to talk about the experience as well, because that is his first time having an assistant as well. And it was a very interesting project. So we were, the room was just a room. It's just a room in someone's residence. So basically, we spent the time together, with a director and a producer, and Emma sometimes come in as well. So a lot of people in one room. I think Caroline is here as well. She's she helped us on the as additional editor in the end. So it was a very
is that Caroline Hodge?
Yes, she's
I know
here.
the name. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So the whole team is here today. It's amazing. So Graham really, you know, put up with me a lot because I didn't know a lot of the technical things. So he would tell me how to. I shouldn't be telling you guys this actually, but anyway, I learned a lot in that job. And after that job, I feel confident, you know, going into a new editing room because I made a lot of mistakes and still I still don't know a lot of stuff, but the experience was just, you know, better than going to a film school. So I would not advise anyone to go to a film school if you have the chance to actually work in a room. But being someone from another country, it was difficult. I have to say it was, yeah. Anyway, so Graham, are you here?
Thanks. I was going to say it's probably a good time. Well, actually, to say cheers, everyone. Thank you for coming, and yeah, to open it up really to other people as well, just to chip in and share and give suggestions or complaints.
I think Donna would like to speak, probably.
And would like to briefly start. That might be a good idea, and then you guys can queue up who should come in next.
Donna, would you like to?
Yeah, hi everybody. This is so great to be part of this chat, so thanks for letting us join. I know a couple of my colleagues are on here as well. And just to introduce myself quickly, just to put some context, I'm the director of post-production for non-fiction content at Netflix, which encompasses documentary features, non-fiction series, comedy, anything non-scripted basically. And I just want to give a bit of hope to people in this conversation as we talk about the lack of budgets and recognition for assistance in non-fiction. And it's something that we are really, really trying to build into all of our budgets. And this is, I mean, I'm based in Los Angeles, but we have a team in London as well. But we're doing this all over the world in that we are trying to educate, you know, and really help our production partners understand the value to having this role. Thanks, John, for putting my bio up. So I suppose this is just to say that we are also trying to support this effort hugely and get behind, you know, getting some appreciation for that role. And it's just great to kind of be in this conversation and hear all of these points. I would have so much to say that I'm not going to, because I would just talk for half an hour about this subject. It's one that's very close to my heart. But I hope that makes you feel somewhat some hope. You know, I guess that as you know, as our efforts to working like this, it means that production companies may start seeing these benefits when they work on shows that are for non-Netflix as well.
I think it's really important, though, really, that people do show appreciation and recognition for assistants and the importance that they are, and that they aren't just indispensable, and that they make the good edits great and the good editors look great. So yeah, thanks, Donna. Well said.
Hugely. And we're also looking at what training efforts we can do as well to really help, you know, recognizing that, you know, training is a huge part. So we are working on that internally with the community in the UK.
Thank you. And Graham Taylor, are you here as well? Pipe up if you are.
Hi, yeah, I am. I'm here. Yeah. Hello.
Hi, good to see you. I can hear you fine.
Oh, good.
I can see you fine.
Brilliant. Oh, well, sorry about that. Yeah, no, I mean, it's really interesting just listening, having flashbacks to my own kind of 20 years ago or whatever it was, experiences of coming up. I mean, I would just echo what everybody's saying. And just also just to express my thanks to Khalif for her amazing sort of help and assistance in general for our project, which was in some ways really kind of weird, but might actually become more of a typical way of working. And so it also, the other thing I would also like to say is relates to the same idea actually, in that, you know, I came up in the dying days of the Soho sort of post industry, when, you know, was around 2000 or whatever it was.
Is it dead, Graham?
well, you know, it's always been slowly dying, hasn't it? But I mean, when I started, it was you know, there was still a bit of money in it, and it was just all draining away. I mean, you would have said at that point that it would be dead by now, but you know, I always sort of fantasized back then about a different model of working, but it always seemed to be impossible with one way or another. The sort of huge sort of infrastructure of the BBC or whatever, but you know, maybe this coronavirus and everything, and you know, and the fact that where we work, how we cut Be Water was with Emma and Khalif and Caroline, and you know, was a much more sort of ad hoc situation, which I thought worked really, really well, because we were able to sort of scale up and scale down quite nicely when we needed it. And also, I just think everybody involved in it, I think I tried to sort of, for as much as I could, foster a sort of quite a sort of open, kind of non-hierarchical structure, apart from when I was shouting and swearing all the time. But like, I tried to encourage and be really sort of like open and honest, because, you know, sometimes it was a nightmare and we just had to sort of, you know, kick, bollock, scramble to get stuff done. And then other times, you know, I wasn't able to give everybody as much of an opportunity, you know, as I could because of the schedule. But if Netflix, the whole movement towards people like Emma being involved in productions, if Netflix are up for kind of investing in this kind of model and kind of advocating for it, then I think that's really positive. And I mean, you know, the problem is there's just a huge inertia in schedules. You know, I tried to get Khalif on to this other job. You know, I said she would be really helpful. It was basically half in kind of, it was all set in Shanghai, and as you know,
okay, keep it brief, Graham.
Just winding up. Yeah, but the production company just didn't listen. Hired an editor that they knew, and then at the end, 3 weeks later, we're like, oh, yeah, we should have done what you said. And I mean, I don't know how you can really address that kind of point. But anyway, that's all I got to say. And good luck to everybody. And
yeah, we're always right. It's the takeaway from that, isn't it? Is there anyone? And are you guys keeping tabs on who's interested in chipping in? Are we using a hands up, or what? Are we getting messages, or what's the score?
Yeah, the messaging system we can't figure out, I'm afraid. But hands up works. Donna, your hands up. Is it supposed to be up?
Oh, it was. Oh, sorry, it was up from before. I'll take it.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other hands up? No.
If any assistants or anyone here has any questions that they want to put forward.
Yeah, come on, Fiona. Fiona,
would you like to speak?
You are muted.
Hi guys. I'm a first assistant. I've been working in drama for a really long time, and I personally think one of the biggest problems is that, you know, in recent years I've been pushed further and further from the edit, because as productions have become more ambitious, schedules haven't changed at all, and if anything, they've become more punishing, you know, since the introduction of on-demand streaming sites. So I find that the assistants are now too busy to cut anything or to sit in with the editor or be involved in any way, you know, aside from our jobs in the technical side of things. I do think that is a big part of the problem. Just wanted to put that out there.
So it's not a good thing, obviously. And do you think it's going the wrong way then in that respect, Fiona?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm a little bit biased. I've been assisting for a really long time. I was an editor back in Dublin, but I was in factual based stuff, and I did have to take a bit of a step back into assisting because I wanted to work in drama. And I've definitely found it difficult to make the jump up from assisting into cutting in drama, whereas I moved into cutting in factual a lot quicker, you know. And I do think that is to do with schedules and also to do with crewing. You know, on the last show I was on, I was the only first for 3 editors, so my time was split between 3, as well as being incredibly busy, you know. So I think if the crewing up was slightly different and the schedules were a bit more realistic, then maybe there would be a bit more time for us to learn a craft. You know, I've certainly not had much opportunity to do that in recent years.
And does your work come in generally from the same companies or from an agency, or what's the?
I do have an agent, but to be honest, most of my work comes from editors I've worked for in the past, either hiring me again or suggesting me to other editors.
But it tends to be so frenzied that you're not really getting any benefit out of it, if you like.
Usually, yeah. I mean, I'm quite upfront with editors now when I'm either interviewing for a job or starting a job, saying I do want to cut.
Yeah.
And some editors are definitely open to that, but then, you know, productions get crazy and it just ends up being too busy.
I think it's important, though, really to express what it is you want to be and what type of assistant you are, and that you're up for it. You know, if our backs are against the wall, like, I'm there and I want to be doing that with you. I think it's great to be forward and, you know, really say the type of work you want to be on and who you like to work with and that kind of thing. I think it's really important, because sometimes I find with people that they can be, you're not backwards about coming forwards at all, but sometimes younger people are a bit, I think, just not pushing themselves to the forefront, and therefore you can get overlooked, I find, anyway.
There's an assistant that Donna and I both worked with. She was a runner, and she said to me she wanted to work on Star Wars. She didn't really care how she was going to do it. She was just going to do it. And she said, I've just started emailing people. I got their email addresses from IMDb. And I thought, that's a little bit intrusive. And I would think to do that. I'd think it, and I couldn't get her to attend today. She was busy, but she actually was a second assistant on Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
Brilliant.
So it's great to hear those stories, and I wonder if people here have reached out and, like you said, sometimes being a little bit pushy. And again, when we're listening to those editors that we hear who have been really successful, some of them are talking about them reaching out, and it's hard. It is hard, and you're going to get knockbacks as well. But I'd love to hear from some editors how they would feel about that if they heard, you know, someone getting in touch with them and saying, I love what you do, can I be your assistant, and so on. Would that be acceptable?
Good question. It's a good question. Come on, somebody put your hand up. I can answer that, but I don't think I should.
I think Dan raised his hand just now.
Can we hear him?
Dan.
Dan. Dan did, yeah. Dan Gage.
Yeah, I wanted to expand on Fiona's point, but we've moved on from that now. But some people contact me, assistants contact me, and I've contacted editors before loads of times, and everyone was very gracious with me trying to get work from them. They would meet up with me or invite me in to see how they were doing things. So I think that's totally acceptable, as long as you're respectful and write an email that's specific to them, and if you're telling them that you love their work.
Well, it is quite flattering as well, I was going to say, you know.
It is flattering.
Yeah.
Can I just raise something that I've got a concern about regarding if we're going to move to remote editing, that makes assistants even more detached from the cutting room and the creative conversations. Yeah. Already you've seen in comedy where I sort of had a good grounding and got to know some producers who later gave me work. Those assistant editors' roles in comedy have now disappeared. They're being done in-house. So if editors are going to continue to work remotely after this, then that is something that needs to be considered as well, because then it becomes even harder for them to build those relationships with editors and producers and directors and learn the craft alongside an editor.
I think there is a real danger, all right, because even in a lot of workplaces, we learn so much from being around other people, and we enjoy being around and you form stronger bonds, I think, from being in the room and going through the battles and having the giggles, you know. Yeah. I'd love to hear from another few people, because we are approaching we've hit 6:30 by my clock. So is there anyone? I will see Will Steer's hand up there. Can you unmute yourself, or does somebody else unmute you?
Hi. Sorry if there's a bit of noise where I am. I just wanted to say that one of the things that I've noticed in assisting and moving up to editor, getting to do assembly editing, things like that, is that it often gets harder to do. By the way, I work primarily in drama, so I'm speaking for drama, especially feature films. The higher profile the job, in general, the harder it is to be able to do any assemblies, because the pressures are greater, the studios don't want you interfering, and so on and so forth. In the indies that I've worked on, you often, as an assistant editor, you often have a very direct relationship with the editor. They're often willing to let you try things, and with post supervisors as well. So I find that there's a lot of, whereas when I speak to firsts that work on big Netflix shows, Hollywood movies, and so on and so forth, they're like, I've never been near, never been near doing assemblies. Whereas, yeah, working on an indie, you do seem to have the opportunity to do that. So that was just something I've noticed having a chat with a few people, basically.
Oh, thanks, Will. I wonder, I'm just curious, when you said that, I thought about Christopher Chow, because Khalif was telling me at one stage, Christopher, that you were forging a career and you've done lots of indie or several indie features, but you've deliberately steered your career back towards assisting, I guess, like Will, to get into a different side of drama or more broadcast drama. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've basically cut about 6 features, indie features, and but no one wants to give me a job in cutting TV. So I thought, like, I didn't have any connections to TV, so I had to try and start doing some assisting. And so worked on a couple of shows. Well, I started like just covering people, and then just met some nice editors. And so
how did you choose which shows, Christopher? Did you target the shows?
No, I'm like, seriously, I'm like totally desperate, so I'll do anything.
Good man.
So because in my mind I thought that because I didn't have any TV credits, and people think that that's just purely from in my own head, thinking that, okay, so producers and post supervisors don't know me. They don't care whether I've won awards for my features or anything. As long as I don't have any TV credits on my CV or IMDb, then I'm no good, because I don't know how to work with the TV format or work with the TV people. So at least that's in my head. I'm working for it. I'll let you know, like, when I come out the other end.
Yeah. It is tough though, that whole thing of just people, because if people have confidence in you, you'll have more confidence in yourself, and you need it reflected back. And and just, I guess it's kind of finding your feet and finding your place. Chris, I can see Chris Call. I can see your hand up.
Yeah, no, I was listening to everybody's points, and especially when Fiona was talking earlier. I just find though that I've been very different in the fact of the people I think I may have worked with, but I don't know if Isabel and Carly and Ben feel the same way about this. But the editors I've worked with, they've always been quite open to saying to me as the assistant editor at the time, why don't you have a look at this scene, or why don't you have a look at recutting this, because I've been sort of asked to look at this, And I've always found that the editors who, as long as they're not with their director or they're not in any viewings, they've been very keen and very forward and very open and helpful to give me feedback on anything I've cut, and given me some great advice as well along the way. I know Chris Wyatt, who's here, has done the exact same when I had to cut a promo recap thing. Well, I think we all know the world of recaps and next times, don't we? But it was just a case of being embraced by your editor to have a go. And I just wish that maybe maybe that's the thing. Maybe more editors just need to be. It's hard because there's time restraints on everything.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering. I was trying to pick out. I can see just one bank of people in front of me, and there's 3 or 4 here. How many editors? What editors are here? And any editors that would like to chip in themselves to say, well, I wish, you know, I could help you more if you asked me this, or I don't mind being asked that, or I'm willing to do this, or I have done that. I don't know if there's anyone here that wants.
I'll say something very quickly. And so one of the editors I've recently worked with, he told me that a lot of assistants that he's worked with in the past on last couple of shows, he said that he wished they had in their own time done some edits and then asked him to watch it and review it, give feedbacks. And he said that the assistants weren't doing that. And I was trying to explain to him that often it's because they just don't have the time. They're working like 10, 12-hour shift, and by the end they're knackered. So how could they have time to do the edits? But at least he did have the intention of like wanting to do that, but he needs to see some more initiative from the assistants.
Yeah. I mean, Robbie, as an editor, as an experienced editor yourself, what's your take? I mean, you're long enough in the game and young enough in the game as well to you know, remember getting in there, but also to be able to help people along.
Well, I have to kind of divide
Oh,
this.
sorry, I was talking to Roberta. Maybe you first, Roddy, and then Roberta.
I was going to say, I don't think I've got enough experience to tell you exactly how that works, but anyway,
sorry, Roddy.
No, that's okay.
I think, I mean, I went from a completely different route, as I barely assisted. The few times that I assisted, it was on indie projects. And I was actually not in the room because I was doing like some deal of being like a DIT and an edit assistant on set those few times, and just to get somewhere, you know, in feature films and having a credit in the editorial department rather than just DIT that I didn't really want to pursue as a career. But I think, and obviously now it's really hard for me to get any break in high-end TV, similar to what Chris was saying before. And I have considered going back to try and assist on that to get that break. But at the same time, sometimes I think, for what actually Will was saying, working in indie stuff might not give you that much money and is not Star Wars and stuff, but I do feel sometimes that I feel better doing that rather than pursuing bigger project with bigger budgets and less control over your work, your crew, the people that is around you. So if I can have like in the end, I did manage to work on a Netflix show, animation show. I'm cutting stuff for BBC as well. So if I can have a take on this, is that not necessarily you need to go through the assistant route, that it's like, it might be harder. It's just a different way of taking things. It's a bit more of like banging your head on the wall a lot, but when you get to know a few people and they do recommend you to other people, you know, directors, producers, or other editors that might not be able to take that job in that moment. So yeah,
it's true. If people do keep you in mind to pass on the jobs, it's always good.
My advice could be just to, you know, get into, I got a lot into I know it's horrible, but networking and networking, and just kind of go for it and just present yourself as an editor without, you know, because I think there's a lot, you know, on how you decide to present yourself, because, you know,
I agree, Robbie. Sorry to interrupt, but it's really important, like, not to look at your shoes and say, I'm an editor, you know, just to really just introduce I'm an editor.
You know, even if you've done just a couple of shorts that you're really proud of or whatever, just be like, I just made the jump, or just even lie, it doesn't matter. Then, you know, once you get into there and just talk about other stuff, I found really useful in networking, just to connect with people about music or anything that has anything to do with your job. So they remind you for something different, and then, you know, the connection happens some other way. So I think, like, having taken a completely different route from everybody who has kind of spoken, except for a few.
I want to talk to, there's one other person actually thanks Robbie, that we haven't spoken to and I didn't introduce, but I spoke to him on the phone during the week, and I just remember him very strongly as one of the best assistants I'd ever worked with, and Gaz. And you were telling me, Gaz, you know, I was asking you what's been happening since then, because I would meet you at events, but we wouldn't always have a time to talk. But I really liked what you told me about having, you know, made a pivot and choosing the jobs that you want to do now rather than ones that you don't want to do, essentially.
Yeah, I'm trying to work on stuff that people will actually watch. If that makes sense. I've sort of, at the same time, I started out in drama after leaving the London Film School, just at the time of the last recession. And so...
Nicely timed.
Yeah, that was a fun time, and sort of ended up at ITN for quite a while on bits and pieces, and sort of have slowly over the last couple of years gone back into drama.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Gone back into drama, and in the process also done a few features and docs and bit of everything, and I've sort of actively tried to stop going too far in one direction if it wasn't what I wanted to end up doing as an editor, to sort of, as I viewed it, and it sort of has developed for me that I've got into a position where it's quite easy for me to switch between drama and factual and documentary as an assistant, because I've got experience in all of them. And also from networking, going to pub, so many people recommend me for stuff. I can't quite remember the last time I applied for a job rather than getting recommended for
Yeah,
it.
which is fantastic. I think that's in wherever you are, like, I think you've made it when people are calling you and you can choose your jobs as well. It's a nice place to be. I think we're getting close.
Chloe has her hand raised. Chloe, if you want to unmute yourself.
Hi. Also, hi, Sean. I think you're in here somewhere. I've not seen you in ages. But so one thing that I found as an assistant when editing work does come up is that you put so much pressure on yourself when it does come about. Because like if you're working in a machine room or like you're outside of things, you finally manage to get an opportunity where someone's asked you to cut something. How to manage that, because generally it'll be fine, but also because you're constantly doing tech work all the time, you do get a bit out of practice even if you're doing it at home, and then there's that kind of worry there in the back of your mind, like if you don't do it well enough that it's going to be like lost, or that's going to be the thing people remember you for. Like if anybody has any recommendations like from being an assistant and going up that way, if there's a way to kind of better suppress that from happening, or whether that's just kind of nerves that you will have for the rest of your career.
They say if you can imagine everyone in the room as if they're naked, which helps. I don't know.
I don't know about other people, but every time when I'm cutting in features, like the first day, it's nerve-wracking for me because it's usually new people I'm working with. I don't know what the material is going to be like, and so but by the third day, then all the nerves gone.
Sorry, I'm with Chris on this. I think like the jump up for me was like it was funny because when I came from film school, I could cut. I was happy, like I had complete confidence. But then I did years of assisting and MCR, which kind of beats editing out of you, and then you end up coming back into it, and then you're like, I don't know how to edit, and you have this imposter syndrome, which is horrific and sweaty. And no one really tells you if you've done a good job. And I find the industry is very good at like going, thanks, even if you don't know if they're actually meaning thanks, or it's like, the job's ended, so I'm going to be nice because that's the industry. So I think we all have it.
And do you think, did film school help you or hinder you in that respect then, Tom? I mean, could you have been working your way through, doing your own stuff and making your name in a different way, perhaps?
If I was wealthier, yeah, it would have been great. But unfortunately, I was very poor. So I came out of film school and I just had to work. And I think that's part of the whole problem with the industry. Like if you've got more money, then you're going to be able to pursue your dreams more.
I think I don't know, because I mean, I have it easy with my skin color, language and age and all of that, but I hope it's changing in terms of diversity and wealth. You're shaking your head anyway. It's still the preserve of the more privileged, you think?
I think one of the main problems is it's white upper class men are like the number one. Then luckily for me, and I acknowledge it massively, is white man, white straight male, and then it works down.
Almost middle-aged.
Yeah, well, yeah, middle-aged. I wasn't middle-aged my whole life, but yeah. And I think that really is something that needs to change massively, because it's a creative hindrance on the industry. We need to make a conscious effort to encourage people, you know, and the working late thing, sorry, Khalif, I acknowledge 1 second, but the working late thing is part of the problem. Like, if you're wealthy and you can live in London, you can work late, maybe you don't have a second job, that's all right. But maybe you got a second job, maybe you're knackered, and, you know, that's part of it, but I'm going to leave it.
It's a good point, though. We really have to change all of that. And I think it's really nice when you see Emma's very closely connected with, I always get it wrong, the finish line or finish line. But they've introduced the 8-hour day for all their people. They said they're as productive as previously, and they have happier, more rested staff or workers. So yeah, I'd love to see that coming in more, because it's one thing that I learned from friends, more successful editors than myself, who just said to me, you know, the lunch break's important. Get out for a walk. Be ready. Be willing to say, you know, we're done now for the day. It's 6:30, and we're out, or earlier, whatever. And when we start, actually, as you're finishing your gulp there, John, we're coming towards the close. John Grover, I saw your thumb up. Have you anything to say or add? Being like, I like to think of you as the father of the house.
The house, the oldest fart here, yeah, probably. I listened to this with quite an amount of interest, because I was very lucky. I think I did my, as you know, completely trained all through, being first, second, third, whatever, runner, T-boy, and just took the jobs when they came. But I was I was quite well looked after. And looking at these youngsters here today, I didn't start cutting till I was much older than these guys.
Well, sorry, I'm trying to gauge the mean age of these guys. What age do you think they all are, John?
38, 40.
Okay, and so it takes that time.
Well, we have a couple of questions. I know that we're coming to a close.
Yeah,
but
we should.
Costin and Caroline both have their hands up. So should we quickly have a question from Joe?
Yeah. Actually, Carly raised her hand as well, but she put it down. Maybe, yeah.
And somebody shout. I don't really know.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Hello, Joe.
Hi. I just want to say something, if that's cool. I want to say thank you to the girl for putting on this call and inviting us from Facebook. It's been really, really insightful, and I've really enjoyed listening to everyone's perspectives. And I just wanted to maybe offer up one of my own. So I'm a freelance edit assistant now, working in Factual, but I also have previous experience working as an MCR manager for one of the Soho post houses. And something I just wanted to kind of touch on and ask you to consider is how sometimes that post house relationship, as where the editors are clients and the MCR staff, that kind of gets in the way. And I had I working as a manager, I had some great young people who were really, really passionate about it. And they just never really got the chance to kind of get pushed in the right direction by some editors. Because if you think about the job progression of working in a post house, you'd probably come straight from university or college, and you would kind of have a full-time job. And that jump to going freelance is really scary. They may not necessarily know that it's something they may even have to do. And so much there's kind of a saying in the machine room where you go client side. which is to jump onto working with production companies. And that's such a daunting prospect for edit assistants, particularly if you are an edit assistant in a post house. You're normally uncredited. You know, you could do work for like Gogglebox or The Voice or some kind of show like that and not even get a credit to your name with it, even if you do for assemblies for them, even that much. So I just wanted to kind of say, if any of you are working in a post house and you spot someone there who catches your eye, definitely, you know, give them a little nudge, because they may not have even considered jumping the boat. And I think that we miss out on some great assistants, like going into that side of stuff because of that. That's what I wanted to add.
I mean, yeah, I totally get that, because when I talk to people, I would say to them at the runner stage, you know, you really should identify who you'd like to work with and what you'd like to do, and just be careful if you don't want to do it, that you could find yourself too many years in the post house environment. And because if you're a very good assistant, people hold on to good assistants, you know, that's the other thing, if you're really good at it. So you need to be known, if it is editing you want to do, just be known as the good assistant who can be a good editor as well, and who wants to edit. Because the post houses, you know, when they have good assistants there, they really want to keep them in the machine room. Isn't that so, John or Joe? Sorry.
Yeah, it's true. And I think also there's almost a subconscious push to kind of divide a wedge with the way that, you know, editors in those post houses are treated as clients. And there's that element of, you know, it kind of dehumanizes it a little bit. It makes it feel like it's your job to be almost seen and not heard.
Yeah, well,
and so I think that clients have more of a, you have the opportunity to break that on your side, I think.
Yeah, I think so, because I think some editors actually behave abominably when they get into post houses and just treating people as their gophers, you know. I don't know what it is. It's quite unpleasant. And I mean, producers sometimes do it because they think it's I'm in a post house and I'm going to get coffees and cappuccinos and all that. But when you see editors that don't say thank you, don't use names, don't even bother to learn the names of people, I think definitely that's something we should all be doing. I'd love to hear more sort of people shouting at editors and saying, you know, have a bit more respect, because these are the people that make things for us.
I think that Joe made a really good point as well, in that you don't get credited, and there was a lot of work that I did in my years in the post house that I look back and think it's unbelievable that I didn't get any recognition.
Yeah.
And as the person who does the applications for the BFE, until very recently, there was nothing on that application form for people to put their years of service in a post house. It was all based on credits. And if you were like me, there was no credits. You didn't. And so we are talking a lot about what can editors do to help as well, but there is such a big conversation that needs to be had about who else in the industry can support what assistants do. And it's great to hear from Donna saying that Netflix are talking about that. But post houses and production companies really seem to me to be the gateway to allowing editors to say, I want an assistant and this is the assistant I want. So it's great that editors can start to do things as well, but we need to reach out, I think, to those other areas in the industry to really push for the recognition too.
Yeah, I think so. I think sometimes post houses are reluctant to give the credit as well to some of their technicians. Yeah, you've got your hand up, Emma, because you helped me out before with the friend, a short I edited. And
well, I found in post houses, often the DI department always get credits. But when I was at Molyneux, my MCR manager often asked for a credit, and I got him a credit on some projects where they were the part of the team, as I, as a post producer, became part of the production team. But always the DI department, and never the edit department got a credit as kind of a default, seeing that people thought that they did more on the project because they were involved in the final stages. But I do think that's wrong, and I think that's also a conversation that needs to be happening with the post producer working on that show to get those credits for those people.
Yeah, I think because it's great if you can see your name on that credit roll.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's a great point. And what about Kirsty? What about us in the BFE? Are we looking at ways that we can take into account those years in post houses that people don't have the credit for?
Yes, we've just changed our application criteria so that assistants can now add their years, and there's I think it's 2 years in a post house, and we haven't specified whether that is as an assistant, because sometimes you can work as a runner for a long time but also have some of that assisting work, so it will then also come down to the personal statement that you provide with that. So I think we're very understanding.
Meaning credits, meaning which your personal statement would make mention, say that I worked on first dates, or I worked on the
so you'd be able to say that whilst you had these years in industry and you don't have any credits, what you did work on and what you did was this. So you would
right.
credit in that sense.
Right.
I worked in a post house, and they did attempt to change their structure so that each assistant became dedicated to one project. And in that way, they allowed them to have a credit rather than one project being spread across lots of assistants, which isn't possible for all post houses. I understand they were a small one and they've dissolved now, unfortunately. So I guess it didn't work, but it's something, you know, there are different ways we can maybe evolve and ask people to try things to help that. But I'm just conscious that Caroline has also got her hand up. If you could unmute yourself.
Thanks, Kirsty. Will she be visible once you, Caroline, will you speak?
The microphone isn't showing waveform. Maybe, is it because of the setting in Zoom?
Press the space bar.
I can't see Caroline. Is there anyone else? Oh, I can see you, Caroline.
Yes.
I can hear you.
Cool. I was actually going to go all the way back to Chloe's point. So I've just basically started transitioning to editing, and it's been so helpful when I know that it's literally just on edit jockeys. People are talking about edit producers, and having that edit producer with you is actually, it's such a confidence booster when you're first editing, especially if they're experienced, even if they're not that experienced, just having that sort of relationship where you can sort of toss ideas back and forth. I found that was really good for my confidence. I just wanted to add that to Chloe's thing. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Khalif, and we're off then.
Yes. Sorry, I just want to add on that point as well, because I think it's really important. We need to maybe not saying, you know, not use the word educate, but include the producers and you know, the decision makers in this conversation, because I was also a researcher for that documentary, so I had the chance to sit next to the producer and the development team, so I know how they recruit people. So some producers, they are really good. They have the awareness of hiring, you know, people from different background, or people who have a sense of, you know, there are different kind of film exists in the world, not just Marvel films. So if we have more of these producers, and maybe we can, you know, show them, you know, you save more money this way, hiring an assistant, than, you know, fix it in online, then maybe they will listen. Because I think they might be scared to hire assistant, or, you know, having a supervisor, post-production supervisor on board early on, because they don't have the money. So especially with documentaries, you don't know how much you're going to spend, you know, in the progress of filming. So then it becomes a problem later on. But if we can show them the envision that, I don't know, budget, or how are you gonna cut costs by setting things right in the early stage, then maybe
you show them where it's gone wrong in other productions, perhaps. You can say, if they did this and if they did that. Yeah,
that's it.
Thank you.
We had a little quick chat with ACE a couple of weeks ago, and they were discussing similar things about that. They want to maybe somehow put it in the contract so that they have to have an assistant for every job that they do. Maybe that's something that we can push for, just like what Beck to do in terms of pushing for a rate card, so that there needs to be a minimum amount of hours that they need to have an assistant for.
Who did
jobs.
You say is? I didn't hear. You spoke with BCE or
no, ACE. ACE.
Oh, ACE. Okay.
Yeah. Because that's something that they think. They obviously their industry is a little bit different, and they have a lot more assistant jobs over there. But they was talking about like there are productions who are trying to wean off assistants or hiring assistants. So maybe that's what they're thinking, that they need to, as an organization, they need to push for a clause in the contract that they have to have an assistant in there. So maybe that's something that with us, BFE, and also with Back2, that we can push to have a minimum amount of hours that needs to be to have an assistant on board of any kind of project, so that they can't say that, oh, we don't have a budget for it. But then if it's part of the contract that all the editors have to pledge towards, then maybe we can change the industry in a different way.
It definitely helps that people speak with a voice, I guess. It definitely does in that way. Did you say a minimum number of hours for the production? Do you mean the duration of the finished program?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
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 Also, sorry, really quickly. One, I agree with you on that point, and especially I have so many jobs I've walked into and they were like, oh, well, we had a lockbox, so everything thought it could be sunk, so we didn't think we have to sync anything, and your head's exploding, because you have to sync everything. So education through production, I think, is a really good thing, and showing them what you need to do, but also just really quickly, any assistants who need any help or whatever, what tiny bit of experience or maybe more with other editors that you want, you can always contact me through the group, through I need an edit assistant. And if you're ever stressed, and especially at the moment where they're trying to kind of push down rates, it would be nice that we can stop that from happening because we can't afford it. But yeah, so you're always welcome to harass.
Yeah, it's big, and thanks, Tom, because there's about 75 participants here, and quite a chunk of them came from I Need an Edit Assistant. We initially opened it up to 10, but we got such interest, we just said we would focus on guests from there who are non-members rather than going to the editors groups, etc. So yeah, thanks, Tom. And with our plan after this, we're going to capture all these ideas. I guess we put them on the BFE Facebook page or Facebook group. I never know which one is which, but we will have them there, because I think maybe if there's one place for these things, then ideas can be added to that we haven't hit upon. It kind of feels like there's a lot that needs to be done, but then there's a lot that can be done, and it feels like there was lots of simple ideas. Is it really short, Dan? Are you going to yeah, sorry, Dan.
Well, I was just going to say, Adam Goff, who's about 3 pages down, who went from assistant to Oscar nom within one film, has had his hand up a few times. I just didn't know if you'd seen him.
No, I hadn't. No, I don't.
Hello. We've got time to hear from him.
Thanks, Dan. I joined BFE last week, so thank you very much.
Hey,
a pleasure to be involved. I was chipping in loads I want to say, but I'll go backwards. For the assistants you have on a show, it's definitely an editor's responsibility, I think, to fight for getting extra people on. A feature, like producers are always telling us it's not in the budget, but the producers made the budget and they give editorial nothing. So a feature I did last year, I actually went to the post-exec at Netflix after the producer told me no to get an additional assistant, and they supported it and I got it. So there's definitely a fight that, you know, if as an assistant, if you're overwhelmed, go to your editor and hopefully they'll support you. And then I can't remember who was asking earlier, if it was all right to reach out to editors. Definitely. Cold call. I got my first assistant job on X-Men First Class came from me emailing Eddie Hamilton, never met him, just a cold call email, and I got that job out of that. And editors are looking for assistants, so if you don't throw your hat in the ring, then how are you going to get the job? And if they don't respond, then they're probably, you don't want to work with them anyway. So yeah, it's all right.
Good. Thanks, Adam. Agreed. And also I like that once you're in the room, show them things you've cut and let them know that you're talented and get their feedback.
I worked on a lot of features as an assistant, and I never cut anything. It was all doing short films on the side. just finding myself too busy. So one thing I will say to all the assistants though is the time you're doing assisting does mean something. So when I got my first break as an editor, the trust I had built up as an assistant carried across. I was cutting stuff with no experience as an editor, but studios still trusted me because of delivering features as an assistant. So, you know, what you're doing matters and it adds up. So just keep doing it.
Thanks, Adam. That's a nice positive note to end things on. So I just say thanks to everybody that's been here. Nice to see your big, happy, smiling face there, Dan. Charlotte behind, hi. Nice to see you there. We didn't get to speak. And yeah, thanks everybody. And the session has been recorded, so at some stage it will be cut down and made available on the BFE website. And we will have an ongoing discussion on the Facebook group. So thanks everybody, and happy weekend, happy Friday. Cheers.
Well done, Fergal. Well done.
Thank you. Thanks. I should say thanks, Khalid. Thanks, Kirsty. Thanks, Roberta. And thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Everybody. Cheers.
Yeah, maybe it's a good time to just plug. If you want to apply to BFE, you can go to the website to apply, and then we've got the YouTube channels that you can follow. We've got lots of clips on there, and you can like the Facebook page. And yeah, the Facebook group is private for members only.
Become a member.
Yes, sign up, become a member.
What is it you say if you're a vlogger? You say, can you like, share, and
subscribe.
Like, share, and subscribe, guys. What's up, guys?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Another one, please.